welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a Jagdpanzer 38t Hetzer. Yes, it's a tier 4 German tank destroyer. It's located on the north spawn of Mainz, and this one is under the command of DeStReUeR. We'll call him Des for the battle. Now this is a replay from last April, I think it was, and it kind of escaped my attention. It did catch the attention of some others, and it's a very interesting battle. Now this little tank destroyer was first designed, they started working it in 1943. It was actually made because there was a shortage of stud guys, and they built 2,800 of them in total. Now it's slightly taller than the Marisal, the Romanian tank destroyer that it's based on. It's armed with a 105mm main gun, capable of 350 alpha, penetrating 64mm of armour, and he's actually loaded with heat rounds, armour piercing and HE. Now he can only carry 30 rounds in total. Okay, let's see how he handles this one. It's a tier 4 game with tier 3 tanks in it, so this gun is particularly powerful and capable of derping the enemy very, very successfully. Okay, the HE rounds, by the way, because he has loaded 8 of them, are actually capable of doing 410 alpha, and they penetrate 53mm of armor, so they're almost as effective as the standard rounds. Okay, P2640 keeps trying to tempt us to shoot, but Des is too clever to fire on a prompt. He's waiting for them to expose something he can shoot at. Oh! P2640 dies just like that with one round. Okay, now the Panzer 38t J. One round, that's all it takes. He's actually loading the AP now because he'll easily go through these guys. Okay, Shure S35 takes a round but doesn't die. He's still left on 4 hit points. Okay, we'll get him on the second round if he can. He's hiding now. He wants to stay underneath there. Strip goes down with 1 round. That's his 3rd kill of the game. He did take a bit of damage, but now we've got an SU-76. He takes a hit but doesn't die. Got a high roll, I think, or was it a low roll because it was HE round. He's now firing HE, and he gets the SU-76. That's his 4th kill. Okay, we've got a Light Viz 38. That's the tank that the Hetzer's based on. And he pumps around him, but it only gets 195. Okay, look at this cruiser. Well, he's brave enough to come forward, but he's taking on a Valentine, and the Hetzer just wipes him out. Des gets another kill. Now, Des is getting hit by HE rounds from that Shure, and now he's being struck by Panzer 38t, showing us his front plate, and he's out the game just like that. Yes, he shouldn't have shown that lower plate. And the Shure's now firing armor piercing at us, but he's out the game just like that with an HE round. Or is it heat round? Okay, another Panzer S35, and he's gone. That's 8 kills. No Radley Walters at tier 4. You're not allowed to get them. More's the pity, because I've had plenty of games where I've got 10 kills at tier 4, and you just don't get a medal. Surprisingly, that heat round did not go through the Matilda. Okay, he's going to give it another go with heat. Got thick armor on the sides of those things. This time he does get a penetration shot for 340. And, oh, got an MTLS there. Unfortunately, we've lost our Valentine, so we're all alone now against 5 enemy tanks. And, oh, just missed the MTLS, who dodged to one side, and he's now hitting us with his double cannon. That's what Chieftain calls one of the worst tanks ever designed, the MTLS. Okay, always looks like Batman to me with those ears sticking up the machine guns. Looks like Batman's hood. Come on, put a round into him. That's it. That is his 10th kill, but no Pools medal. And the Sav goes down. That's his 11th kill. There's only 3 enemy tanks left between him and a Racine Heroes medal. They are capping, and they're almost completed the cap. There's 2 of them in the cap. He just needs to reset one of them, but he needs to do so quickly, otherwise he's going to be in trouble. Oh, he resets on the 0. It gets to 0 exactly. Now he has to reset this Panzer 3. And he does get a reset, takes out the Panzer 3E, and now all he's got to do is kill this Matilda, and that will leave just 1 enemy tank left. He's got him. Now the only remaining enemy tank is an M5A1 Stuart, and when he was last seen, he was in grid square A5 near the plateau. Well, we don't know if he's still there, and he could do some damage to us. So Des is being careful because he's only got 84 hit points left after all those shells that hit him bounced off or did HE damage. Of course, the Matildas took quite a bit of his hit points away. So he's being cautious. He's going to go up on the plateau, and I think, and have a look and see if he can find that M5. Of course, he might have the cannon, the auto cannon. We'll just have to see if he's still there. We don't want to get hit if we can help it. There he is. He is still there. And it looks like he's AFK. Well, that one bounced off. He's going to try and get down. Oh my God! He's fallen on his side. He's about to win the biggest game of his life, and he's fallen on his side. Well, this tank only has 7 degrees of gun depression. Is that going to be enough? Well, he knocks the wall down, and yes, you can see that the enemy tank is within his gun arc, so he can kill him even while he's on his side. He's got the rounds to do it. He's trying to flex his engines. It's given him a bit more room to play with. He's just loading the rounds now. Okay, can he do this? Yes, he does. He gets a pen for 354, leaves the M5A1 on 216 hit points. He can kill him with the next round if he can get it in. Yes, he wins the game on his side. He's still there on his side at the end of the game. What a way to win a Racine Heroes medal. Yes. Well, that has to be one of the daftest games I've ever seen. Incredible game by Des. I think that's DeStReUeR. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. We'll call him Des anyway. He managed to get an ace tanker out of that game in the Jagdpanzer 38t Hetzer. He also got a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In this one, he managed to get 7. He got a hand of gold for surviving the battle and received damage from at least 4 enemy tanks. In fact, actually, he did receive damage from a lot more than 4, as well as a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him, a 5 for effect for doing more damage than the hit points of his own vehicle, and he got a shell proof as well for blocking more damage than the hit points of his own vehicle. He got the medal which very few players have ever managed to get, the Racine Heroes medal, which you can only get if you can destroy 14 tanks on the enemy team. In fact, it's very, very rare indeed. You don't find many people who've actually got one of these, because it basically makes the entire game a one-man effort. He also got a Kolobanov medal for killing at least 5 enemy tanks and standing against them alone at the time, or at least for standing alone and winning against 5 enemy tanks. You don't actually have to kill them. You just have to cap out, and if they're still around and you stood against 5, then you would still get the Kolobanov. In fact, I only have 1 Kolobanov, and I actually killed 4 of the enemy tanks, but I didn't find the other ones, so I had to cap out and win it that way. Bit disappointing, but a great game by Des to actually get it by killing all the enemy tanks. He got a defender medal for defending the cap and getting at least 70 defense points in the process. In fact, he got a lot more than that. He also got a steel wall for blocking more damage than the hit points of his own vehicle, high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game, and a top gun for getting at least 6 kills. And that last kill lying on his side. Yes, honestly, what a way to actually win the game. Let's have a look at the team score. In this game, he definitely got the highest damage, 4,676, and at tier 4, that takes some doing. The next highest damage was actually from the Panzer III Ausrung, was it Ausrung J? No, it was an Ausrung E, actually, on the enemy team, who managed to get 1,305 hit points, and the other one was the other Ausrung E, who got 1,148. So very well done by those players, but unfortunately, they weren't able to stop Des from winning the game. When it came to kills, yes, Des got that one with 14 kills. That's just one tank was killed by the Valentine in that game, but all the others were killed by Des. And 3 kills went to the 2 Panzer Kampfwagen 3 Ausrung Es, and 2 kills went to the T-70 on the enemy team. And when it came to base XP, he managed to get 1,860 base out of that one. The next highest scorer was actually the Valentine on his team, which was his last surviving teammate, who got 487. And after that, it was the Panzerkampfwagen S35 on the enemy team, who managed 485 base out of that game. He fired 25 rounds in that game, got 22 direct hits on the enemy and 16 penetrations. So we still have 5 rounds left at the end of that battle. He got 4 splashes as well, 4,676 hit points, all of it at close range. Received 22 hits from the enemy, 7 of them penetrated, 14 non-penetrations, and 1 hit by way of splash. In fact, I think the splash shell actually came from the DeStReUeR S35, who gave up firing armor piercing, fired an HE round at him, which did very, very little damage, and then went straight back to firing AP again. He blocked damage of 895 hit points in total from that angled armor. 4 enemy vehicles were spotted, 15 enemy vehicles were damaged and 14 killed, and he got 23 hit points of damage assistance, 100 cap points for defending the cap, and on a free-to-play account, he earned 40,438 credits. But he did fire a fair amount of heat ammo, and he actually put the HE rounds in the slot where the AP would normally be, which was a bit confusing for me to start with. But yes, he actually ended up with a loss for the battle of 14,584 credits overall. He got 1,860 base XP, and there was no multiplier, so that's all the base XP he took away. But fantastic game in the Jagdpanzer 38. I know a lot of people would actually just call it the Hetzer, but it didn't actually get that name until very, very late in the war. And really, I think the Hetzer name came from the crews rather than from official sources. It was, after all, a cheap rip-off of the Romanian Marisal. It was designed to have angled armor at the front, but basically it used the Panda Achtung hull, the same hull that they've been using since the start of the war. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the armor profile for this vehicle. You can see it's got very well sloped armor right at the front, which is what gives this vehicle its strength. The actual armor at the front is 60 millimeters thick, but with the angling it goes up to 92, which makes it quite of a very, very troll vehicle to actually come across, because if this thing angles even slightly there, you can see the armor actually goes up even more to about 100 millimeters, but of course it does expose the side armor, and the side armor is very weak, only 20 millimeters thick, and with the effective guns that they were firing at the time, you could overmatch that armor if you fired a 76 millimeter gun, because of course it's more than three times the thickness of the actual armor, the original armor that it was fired at. The lower plate's also 60 millimeters, and the gun is actually over to one side of the vehicle, and that actually makes it more difficult because it can only fire 5 degrees to the right, but because the gun can't move any further, can't transverse, because it's blocked by the side armor of the vehicle. But it can fire 15 degrees to the left because there's plenty of room over this side. And you can see the driver's port's there and the gunner's port there. Anyway, the side armor, as I said, 20 millimeters. It is angled. You can see here it's angled at 3.6 degrees, which is basically still giving 20 millimeters of armor. And at the back, it's very thin. It's only 8 millimeters at the back and only giving 8 millimeters again. 8 on top there, 8 on top. It did have an automatic machine gun, which could actually be fired from inside the Hetzer. So if they didn't want to depart the vehicle, they could slew this MG34, I think it was, round onto the troops that were there and just spray them down with machine gun fire to get them away from the vehicle. But the vehicle itself wasn't very tall. In fact, it was very, very small. It only weighed 18.5 tons in total. And with the most efficient armor, as I said, was at the front. So if you kept your front to the enemy, they would find their rounds bouncing off the front of the arm of the vehicle very, very easily indeed. But it was so low that it could actually hide in the bushes. And this made it as effective, if not more effective, than the Stugs. The only difference, of course, was the Stugs were easier to make because they were made from the Panzer III, and the gun was central in the vehicle, which meant that it had an equal arc either side, which this thing doesn't have. But anyway, let's have a quick look at the live version. And you can see, yet again, the armor is very strong. There is a weak point directly underneath the mantlet, but I defy anyone to try and get a shot in there. Very, very difficult. But any round going through the side will just penetrate easily, no problem whatsoever. So keep your front to the enemy, and you should be okay. If we go to the modules, okay, and I'll bring up the full screen. There you go. Okay, well, you can see the driver's sitting up front. He's actually got part of the transmission right next door to him, front-wheel drive. And you can see the engines at the back, and there's one big fuel tank right next door to it. The ammo racks are actually in the sides of the vehicle, and these are 75mm shells normally if it was a 75mm armed one. This one's got the 105mm gun, so of course it would be that big 105mm shell, which I think, if I remember correctly, is actually a two-piece ammunition. It's a shell and a powder bag that goes in behind it, but in a can. But we've got the tank commander, who appears in this particular image to be directly behind the breech, with the loader over just behind the gunner, on the gunner's right next door to the gun, sitting directly behind the loader, the driver rather. And it's a very cramped vehicle indeed. In fact, they called it coffin because it really was. It was so cramped on the inside, very difficult to move about. And of course, the fumes will build up inside the vehicle, which is why they needed to vent the fumes out the back of the vehicle. Otherwise, they would all suffocate from the fumes that were coming out. There's a radio, and it's actually on the left-hand side of the vehicle near the commander. And the commander's also got the set of shells right next door to him. So there's two ammo racks you're really aiming for. If you can get it through the sides of the vehicle, 20mm of armor, you'll easily be able to get that. If you fire through the front, well, it's very difficult to fire through the front, as I said, simply because of that 90mm angled armor, 60mm impacted armor. So really, the best thing to do is actually get a Hetzer in its side, and then you'll be okay. And if you can actually aim virtually dead center, but near the top, you should be able to get the ammo racks and set it off that way. So that's where the modules are on the Hetzer. Well, as I said, this replay is from 2022. It escaped my attention back then, but I'm very glad that I found it now, and a lot of people have seen it since, but it's surprising because you would have thought this replay would have been more noticed by more people, because it is so stunning, the fact that he takes out the entire enemy team, and he does so well under the time limit as well. 7 minutes. He had plenty of time to win that battle, and he was just executing enemy tanks with one shot at a time. So very well done there to Des. Congratulations on your Racine Heroes medal. Not many people have them, and I'm sure you must be very proud that you have one. I wish I did have one myself, but since I play Arty, there's very little chance I'm ever going to get one of these. So congratulations. If you enjoyed this replay, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.